This is a queen ant. She was placed inside an artificial sandpit with one mission, to build an entire ant empire from absolutely nothing, and she was given 1,000 days. But there was one problem. Outside the sandpit, an enemy ant colony already existed, and they could attack at any moment. The queen knew something terrifying. If enemies attacked now, everything would end before it even began. So without wasting a second, she started building. At the same time, she began raising her first generation of offspring. But before soldiers, she needed workers. Soon, worker ants were born, and they immediately got to work. They started building a defensive fortress around the nest entrance. But walls alone wouldn't save them, because before war arrived, they would need an army. Large amounts of food were placed nearby. Worker ants rushed toward the seeds. They carried them underground and stored them deep inside the colony. Then something fascinating happened. They crushed the seeds and turned them into ant bread, the perfect food for growing larvae. Days passed, weeks passed, and around day 70, the colony had grown much larger. But then another problem appeared. The newly born ants were still weak and inexperienced. And the biggest reason was simple. They lacked sugar. That's when a small container of honey was introduced. But something strange happened. The ants completely ignored it. Hours passed. Then an entire day passed. Still, not one ant touched the honey. But then disaster struck. An enemy scout discovered the treasure. And only moments later, an entire army of black ants launched an attack. War had finally arrived. The young red colony wasn't ready. The battlefield instantly turned into chaos. The red ants struggled to fight back. It became a one-sided massacre. Eventually, the attackers were forced away, but the damage was already done. The colony had suffered heavy losses. But life never stops. Even weakened, they still needed the honey to survive. And this time, they learned from their mistake. Carefully, they collected the honey and covered it with stones and soil. Because protecting the honey was almost like protecting the queen herself. As long as the queen survived, the empire still had hope. Days slowly turned into months, and by around day 600, their army had become stronger than ever before. Now it was finally time for combat training. 100 fruit flies were released into the colony. Small, fast, and difficult to catch. As the ants hunted them, they slowly developed new fighting strategies. They became faster, smarter, more dangerous. Then another year passed. Now their empire had become stronger than ever. But outside the sandpit, the enemy colony had been waiting all this time. And eventually, the final war began. The invaders rushed deep into the chambers of the nest. Their strength was overwhelming. The queen was now in danger. Soldiers quickly escorted her to the deepest part of the colony, and those left behind sacrificed themselves to protect the retreat. But the attackers weren't finished. They even began attacking the larvae. It looked like 1,000 days of hard work would disappear in a single moment. Then the queen made one final decision. Instead of protecting her, every soldier would turn back and fight for survival. And with everything they had left, the ants launched one final counterattack. Bursting through the soil, they charged back into battle.